I didn't really have a plan when I started this. I just kind of spontaneously decided to do a Dilophosaurus, so I didn't have any references or anything that I was working from. So I'm sure the anatomy is not perfect, but I have drawn a sketch before where I was using better references, and I think I remembered at least some of it. I'm taking some time to just really work on my sketch here and try to fine it down, drawing stuff over and erasing it again. The Dilophosaurus is really interesting because it's kind of enigmatic, and it has been for a long time. We're only kind of now just starting to be able to place it in the other families of theropods, and the whole time period it comes from is pretty enigmatic too, that early Jurassic period. There's just not a lot of fossil material from that point. And it's kind of important because it's right after this big, well, at least moderate extinction at the end of the Triassic, and it's this period right after the dinosaurs start to really take over. So everybody kind of wants to understand it, and we just don't have a lot of information about it. We used to think that Dilophosaurus had kind of a very kind of narrow, thin skull that it couldn't really bite anything very hard with, but the newer analysis suggests that actually it was pretty robust, and it could tackle some prey that was at least close to its own size. It had a strong bite, and in fact the one really good specimen that we do have has a lot of major injuries in its arms, showing that it was wrestling with and struggling with some really serious, strong animals, and getting a lot of broken and dislocated bones in the process. So having got my sketch down, I start working on some plant material, and I'm not really trying to be too specific here. Maybe I'm just not really into plants. I kind of want to create the impression of detail, and putting in a nice cycad there and some ferns. And with the ferns, I wanted to be really organic about it and just sort of let them flow. I'm starting with the white pencil now because I want to try and get those light shades in before I try and go back in with darker stuff and show where the light is coming from, because I have learned it's just easier to put down that white pencil before you put down dark and not after. I need to make softer white pencils. Now I'm going back in and adding those darker tones. This toned paper, the brown paper, you can get gray or blue. It sort of does a lot of the work for you of giving you those mid-tones, so it's really great at saving you work. I really like it. I feel like with a lot of paleo art, when people are reconstructing the plant life, it kind of tends to look sort of monoculture-y and not very organic and not very pretty. So I wanted to really just sort of let things flow naturally, and I'm sort of putting some horsetail sorts of things and some ferns and stuff, and they're all kind of curly and just sort of messy and mingled in with each other, and illuminated from an angle there, so the animal is kind of just in it and almost part of the scenery. I think if you're depicting anything in nature, it's important to see the beauty and the personality in whatever you're working on, even if, like in this case, it's not going to be totally accurate, because it's paleo art, and there's limits to what you can do, and it wasn't really working from a reference, so now I'm going back in and detailing with that darker color, and I haven't really done this technique before because I've only been drawing on tone paper for a short amount of time, but I feel like it turned out pretty well. And I kind of had a good day that day. I was able to just sort of flow and add in all the details, and it worked. I don't always have the patience for this. I kind of took the Brian Ing approach here with the feathers over most of the body and then kind of a scaly belly. But, I like my dinosaurs to look pretty, so it's not nearly as gnarly as the Brian Ing Dilophosaurus. And I'm kind of doing the same thing here that I did with the foliage, where I'm kind of just following my gut about what to put where. I didn't analyze any of it too deeply, for better or for worse. I gave him little paw pats on his hands. So I don't know. I guess it would. If I were a dinosaur, I'd want my arms to be fuzzy, but then have like nice gripping surface there for when I want to grab things. And I gave him a little bit of ornamentation on his tail there because, I don't know, Dilophosaurus is kind of flamboyant, so why not? I also gave him these kind of flaps of skin, sort of like cats have on their legs, going between the arms and legs and the body. Those are called patagia, I think. And I did that because it seems like they're pretty common in dinosaurs. When we do get preserved soft tissue, they're pretty common. And of course, modern birds have them. I mean, if you've ever eaten a chicken wing, you've eaten these. So they're still around. And they just give the animal more flexibility of movement, so it doesn't have to stretch its skin as much to move. I ended up varying the length and texture of I almost want to say hair, because that's sort of the texture that I went with for a lot of the body covering. Really fine stuff down on the legs, and then kind of shaggier up on the hips. I don't know, I guess I just thought it looked good. Or maybe it kind of felt like what animals sometimes have going on. It's how their limbs are. So I'm going back in now after adding all that and kind of doing more shading and giving them a little bit of a color pattern. Well, not color exactly, but a pattern. I kind of went with spots and then sort of almost a belt over the hips. So I don't know, I guess I sort of like the idea for some reason that Dilophosaurus had spots, and maybe it was hunting in woods and jungle, so it would probably benefit from having a little bit of camouflage that would blend well with that sort of environment. And I'm going back and adding really bright spots where there's direct sunlight. And I ended up making them look kind of backlit, which wasn't really what I was going for, but it's just really hard to get that white pencil. Oh, and so this is where my camera died. Yeah. Anyway. So I did finish it later after the camera died, and there's the finished thing. So enjoy. Hope you enjoy this. There it is. See you next time.